Hi, my name is Sarah Wee. I'm a PhD student at New Mexico State University in the psychology department. I teach and I also conduct research, sometimes with statistics using numbers, and sometimes by sitting down and having a conversation with somebody else. I think social science research is so important to so many aspects of our lives. It affects the teaching practices that educators use, the types of services someone receives in a clinical or counseling setting, and can even affect legislature and policy that is made and enacted in our country. I got here by going to school. So first I got my bachelor's degree in psychology, then moved on to my master's in social psychology, and now I'm here in a PhD program. However, I think the main reason I'm here is through some wonderful mentors and support that I've had from people along the way in my journey.
How is what you do like or unlike what you thought your profession would be?
So I work in psychology, so I'm a PhD student right now, and I teach but I also conduct research. And back when I remember being in my undergrad in high school and I thought about what research was, I always thought it was this really very cold, clinical, in a lab setting kind of thing. And I do two different types of research now. One's called quantitative, where I might do surveys and get responses and then use statistics to better understand those findings. But I also do a type of research called qualitative. And there are many different kinds, but what I do particularly is interviews. So actually it's kind of like what we're doing right now, except I'll audio record it and then write it out. And one thing I love about that is just getting to make connections with other people, to really sit down and have those one-on-one interactions. And that wasn't something I thought I'd ever get to do in a research-based career, because in psychology you usually think about counselors or clinical workers, and that wasn't quite for me. So I was a little bummed that I thought I would miss out on the genuine interactions with other people, but it's something that I found that I have in my career so far. Not only with people I get to work with in a research setting, but also in my departments, with friends, with colleagues, and I really just appreciate getting to make those nice, genuine connections with other people. Something else that's really surprising to me is how much flexibility there is. So within psychology, usually in a graduate program, you pick a specific focus. Like I study sex education, LGBTQ issues, I'm very passionate about that. But if one day I decided to change my focus and do something else within research, I have the freedom to do that. And that makes me really happy because I'm a really curious person.
Tell me about a time when you were really challenged. How did you overcome it?
Yeah, so I think that something that I would even consider a personal challenge now, and what I found through all of my schooling, even when I was in high school, is not quite feeling like I knew 100% exactly what I wanted to do, and feeling very scared that pursuing any sort of field in STEM, in graduate school, in psychology especially, was something that I couldn't do unless I had a 100% certain focus. And that used to really bother me until I started forming good mentors, and I feel like I've had some amazing mentors in my undergrad, in my master's, now my PhD program, who have really helped me realize that, you know, as long as I'm working hard and I'm working towards something, that I can be flexible. I think another challenge that I've personally had, and something I feel like I've grown in and still hope to grow in, is self-confidence in the work that I do and what I'd like to do in the future. And I definitely think that that's not something I'm alone in. A lot of my fellow graduate students, even a lot of people I already know who have doctorates that work in research field, we all have self-confidence issues. And getting to work with, again, wonderful mentors is something that's really affected the way I feel about myself and my work, and something that I really hope to pass down to other people that I work with in the future as well.
Have you had any job mishaps?
Yes.
Funny job mishaps?
Yes, I was thinking about this. I feel like there's been so many. I mean, even just in the last few months, I've had some horrible Zoom moments where I thought that the mic was off and it was not off. But one of the funniest ones that I can remember over the recent future, I do survey research, and sometimes that research is online. And so we try to get as many people to take the survey online, and then we look at their responses and analyze them. And within that survey process, usually when we type it out, our program just has a set standard font, and usually it's about 12-point font, and it's consistent through the survey. Well, for some reason, we could not get it to stay at 12. So some pages of our survey had like 10-point font, and some pages had 48-point font. So it was going between very small and very big, and we could not figure out how to change it or get it to go back to normal. And eventually we just realized that we might not get it to do what we wanted, and hopefully people wouldn't mind, but if they did, they could always tell us. One of the things I love about psychological research is sometimes when participants take it, they feel like they're trying to guess what you're studying, and like what's the deception, and what are they tricking us into doing. Well, someone wrote a comment that was like, I figured it out, I understand the font size thing, I gotcha, and we're like, great, because we have no idea. So I thought that was pretty funny.
What advice would you have for someone starting out in your field?
So I think that there are so many things that I wish I had known when I was starting out in my field, and I think that these are things I have to remind myself of going forward too. And I know that some of my mentors who are 20, 30, 40 years older than me still struggle with these things as well. But I think that the most important thing to remember is that you have useful things to contribute. You are a worthwhile person, you have interesting perspectives, and that whatever you bring to the table is always going to be enough. I also think that finding a sense of good internal motivation, so knowing how to do things, but also feeling ready to do them, being able to do that work and being able to push yourself is important. I also think that finding good mentors is one of the keys to succeeding in anything that you do in any career. They're the reasons why I'm here where I am today, where I will be going in the future. I always hope to find mentors wherever I go, because there's always somebody that you can learn from that can be a great guide for you as you go along in your process. So I think that those things I would definitely recommend. I think one other thing that I've really taken to heart is to be flexible and always be willing to negotiate where you are, what you're going to do, and where you're going to go. Sometimes you think that you're going to be set on one path, and then an opportunity comes up for you, and you can stick on that path, or you can take a chance. And sometimes that chance will lead you to somewhere that you never expected yourself to go.
Is it hard for females in your work field?
I think that psychology has a really interesting history. It really wasn't until the last 40 or 50 years that women were even able to get doctorates in psychology. And not just women, but I think people of color and women especially have had trials and difficulties within psychology and the social sciences and research. However, one thing that I think is really wonderful is that that seems to be opening up. So more women are going into psychology, more women are taking research-based careers, and there are women who are mentors who are specifically helping out other young women. My advisor, Dr. Laura Madsen, is phenomenal in being a really great feminist mentor to me, talking about what it's like to be a woman working in research, working within psychology, working within a university system, and how to navigate that. Personally, I've had wonderful experiences in all of the departments that I've been a part of, and I am very grateful and I feel very privileged for that. However, knowing that there are experiences of women out there who have not had those similar experiences is something that is worth having conversations about, talking about, and making changes to make like my field in psychology and in academic research to be a supportive and inclusive and diverse environment. So I want to show you a few different tools I use to conduct research right here from my house. And the first thing I actually use is this little guy. This is an audio recorder. And this audio recorder will record the voices of people who are talking. Sometimes I work on qualitative research in which I conduct interviews with other people. I record everything that we say, and then I type it up. And after that, I have something called a transcription, and that is a typed out version of an audio recording file. So I'm going to show you how I actually do that here, and I'm going to show you a few different other tools I use as well. So here we are at my computer, And this is a transcription service that I use. And again, a transcription is just a typed out, written out version of an audio recording. So first, an interview is conducted, it's recorded. Next up, you need to type it out. So this service allows you to upload an audio file, and you can see that there's one playing right now. And at the top of the screen, you can see a bunch of different commands. So I can stop the audio recording. I can play it again. I can slow down the recording, and this makes it a lot easier to type things out because it's hard to type when people are speaking quickly. I can also speed it up. I can rewind. I can fast forward here. And then I can type out the full transcription here and then have different Microsoft Word or PDF versions of the actual recording. So that's the transcription software that I use. Another service that I use is called Qualtrics. And you may have heard of something called SurveyMonkey before. It's a similar type of thing, except Qualtrics has hundreds of different types of questions that you can ask. So here I have an untitled project, and let's say that I just want to call this the Explora project. From here, I can start making questions. So right now we have a multiple choice question up where I can write a question and I can write different answer choices. But if I come over here and I click on this green bar, I can switch the type of question that I ask. So I can have a text entry, which might ask somebody a question and then ask them to type in an answer. I can also have a matrix table in which I might ask people to rate experiences on a 1 to 5 point scale from very satisfied to very dissatisfied. And then from there, I can get numbers out of this by having satisfied be 1, somewhat satisfied be 2, neutral be 3, somewhat dissatisfied be 4, and very dissatisfied by 5. And then I can run statistics with those numbers to look for potential differences between groups. So in Qualtrics, there are actually hundreds of different types of questions that you can ask. And then the last service that I typically use is through a program called SPSS. And SPSS is a statistics software, and this is a data set here. So it looks like this data set is about subjects, their gender, whether or not they own a dog, the distance they can throw a frisbee, and their education level. And from here, I can click on a lot of these different buttons, run different analyses, and look at the statistics to better answer my questions and hypotheses. So those are just some of the tools that I use myself right here from my computer. I can take it anywhere I want to and do some research. So now I have a challenge for you. You're going to be your own social scientist for the day. Think about a question you have. What are you interested in knowing how people feel or think about? What attitudes or opinions do you want to know? Come up with a research question, then form a hypothesis. Make a prediction. What do you think people are going to say, or how do you think they're going to feel? After that, go collect your sample. Find 5 to 10 people to ask your question to, write down their responses, and after that, analyze your data. Look for patterns and similarities, come up with what people really said, make a report, and there you go. You're your own social scientist for the day.